Hello, BookTube. I thought I'd give you another Bookshelf Essentials. This is a little BookTube featurette that David Wiley came up with on his channel. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. Wonderful channel. He decided, he was looking at his shelves and thought, I have a lot of books, but some of these are different from others. Some of these are essential. I actually can't imagine a bookshelf without them. Some of them you can. You hate to say it about any of your babies, but some of them you can. You could get rid of them and you just find it again. You wouldn't miss it much while it was gone. But others are essential. So he started a Bookshelf Essentials series, and I love the idea. I've done a few, and I want to keep doing them. I want everybody else to do them too. You must have essentials on your bookshelves. If you have a BookTube channel, feel free to take up this gauntlet thrown down by David Wiley. I want to show you a book today that is a bookshelf essential of mine. This is 1938. This is a novel called The Code of the Woosters by P.G. Wodehouse. Here we have a cover by the great 20th century illustrator J.C. Leyendecker, a precursor to Norman Rockwell. And this was originally an advertisement for Arrow Collar. So you have a young college student, and this is, the man of his college. So an older man who lives in the college looks after the young gentleman's needs. But in this cover, it does service as the two main characters in the story. Foppish, moneyed young man about town named Bertie Wooster, and his all-knowing valet, Jeeves, his manservant, Jeeves. Some of you may know this from the popular BBC adaptation with Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry, and I love that adaptation. I think it's just incredible. The one problem that I had with it, Christopher Hitchens had a problem with it because Jeeves at one point rolls his eyes. I'd like to think I'm a little bit more long-suffering when it comes to my TV criticism. The problem I had with it is that the two people are the same age. And they shouldn't be. This is closer to what they should be. If we ever get another adaptation or a movie, for instance, of Jeeves and Wooster, I'm hoping that that is the case. Bertie Wooster is just out of school. He's just out of college, of Oxford. You can just picture him being there. He's not old at all. He's young. And Jeeves should be older. There should be a discrepancy between their age. So that's why I love this cover. This is the old vintage. Yeah, the old vintage paperback here. Wodehouse wrote this in 1938. Worked really hard on it. It's meant to seem like effervescent. It's meant to seem like just champagne fuzz. But Wodehouse worked really hard to make his novels feel that way. Really hard. Pages stuck up all over his study. Exhaustive writing and rewriting. Lots of editorial help with this thing, for instance, in its beginnings, in the opening chapters, where it's almost pointless to describe the plot of any Jeeves and Wooster novel. It's almost pointless to do. You're certainly not reading them for the plot. This involves a cow creamer, a creamer for the dinner table shaped like a cow, but antique and odd and prizable, and it is prized by Sir Watkin Bassett, and Bertie Wooster is pressed by he has two frightful aunts that we know by name, and one is awful, and one is manipulative and gets him into trouble all the time, but he loves her. His Aunt Dahlia he loves. His Aunt Agatha is a monster. but Bertie Wooster's not overly fond of aunts in any case because they rule his world. But Aunt Dahlia asks him, she has a plan afoot for this cow creamer, so Watkin Bassett's cow creamer. And this invariably drags Bertie and Jeeves out to country estates. Wodehouse loves to decamp. His action of his stories is often in New York or in London, but he loves to decamp to country estates when he's in England. He loves to go there. And we do. And there are all sorts of shenanigans involved in that. There's an oafish constable. There's a high-spirited, yappy little dog who's a terror to everyone. There's Sir Watkin, of course, and Madeline Bassett and Gussie Fink-Nottle, who's fond of newts, and probably stealing the whole show in this novel. This is my favorite of the Jeeves and Wooster novels. I could put any of them up for a bookshelf essential, but if for some reason I had to pick just one, I would keep this one. This would be the one that I would have above the others, even over Joy in the Morning, which is widely regarded as the best Jeeves and Wooster novel, and was retitled for an American run of these books as Jeeves in the Morning. But the title of the book that Wodehouse published was Joy in the Morning, and it is terrific and probably funnier than this book. Although they're always funny, all of them are funny. But Probably in this book, the character that stands out the most for me is Roderick Spode. He's a fascist wannabe, a dictator wannabe, a pompous, ridiculous figure who wants to his brown he wants his group of paramilitary hangers-on to be a force in English life. He wants them to renounce louche foreign ways and grasp the strength of the British knee, the British bicycle, the potatoes, the metric system and whatnot. He's a wonderful send-up of the fascism that was rising all over the world when Wodehouse was writing this book. He's a wonderful comic setup of it. And he's a terror, too. He's huge and enormous and extremely violent and thinks nothing of threatening Bertie Wooster until Jeeves learns his secret. Jeeves learns Roderick Spode's secret and trusts that secret to Bertie Wooster, and it has the effect, once Bertie remembers it, Bertie is a nitwit, so it's hard for him to remember it, but once he does, it has the effect of a lightning bolt. And in a comic sequence, the climax of this book, that is just wonderful. It's one of the best things that Wodehouse ever did. This is the antics of a whole bunch of silly people worried about silly things in scenic settings. It is hard to describe the wonder of something like that to someone who's never read Wodehouse. If you've never fallen under the spell of this author, you'll wonder what on earth I could be so happy about. And if you have fallen under the spell of this author, then you'll know, and you'll think, well, what are you thinking trying to give an explanation for? You can't explain a rainbow. You know what it is, but you can't explain the wonder of it. Same thing here. It's almost impossible to describe why this is a bookshelf essential, but you've heard me say many, many times, and you've heard many other people say many, many times. Think about the COVID year, the worst of COVID, 2020. Think about all the public intellectuals and writers and artists of what kind or another who are asked during these dark times when you can't leave the house, what are you doing to recharge your batteries? How many of those people in interview after interview said, I'm reading Wodehouse. I'm reading Jeeves and Wooster. How many of them said that? I lost count, and I wasn't even counting. And I felt the same way. I feel the same way. It doesn't take a worldwide pandemic, almost anything. If I need a pick-me-up, I go, this is one of the places that I go, is to this weird world that Wodehouse created. This weird world of silly, moneyed people and Bertie Wooster and his idiotic friends, Gatsby, Potter Purbright, or Gussie Finknottle, or all of his old chums that are in one scrape after another. They're all as dumb as a bag of hammers. So when they get into trouble, they need Jeeves and his enormous brain. Jeeves has an enormous brain. He has a solution to all problems. He is all-knowing and serene. He only wants to help. To the point where, after a while, Bertie's friends come round his flat, whether it's in London or in New York, because they're kind of hoping that Jeeves is in the kitchen. They're kind of hoping they can talk to Jeeves. This often affronts Bertie because he considers himself to be the scion of a great family, the great Wooster clan. But nevertheless, in the end, Jeeves has to save the day every time. But this particular novel has so many classic set pieces in it. Starring Gussie Finknottle, starring Madeline Bassett, starring Roderick Spode. There's a couple of great exchanges with Jeeves and Wooster that I had to pick it before I pick any other. If Bookshelf Essentials were to continue for 100 years, all of the Jeeves and Wooster novels would be on here, and a few of the Blandings books would too. Frida has been ominously guest starring in every video that I've made today, where she's just, her face is in the background like that. What is the matter, baby? Are you jealous of little Bartholomew? He's a terrier too. He's not as cute as you are, though. No, he's not. And he attacks other people. Frida doesn't attack other people like the dog in this book does. Instead, she wants them to pet her. It's a very friendly attack. Anyway, that's my bookshelf for today. Code of the Woosters. I'm putting it for myself even over Joy in the Morning or Jeeves and the Feudal Spirit. There are some entries that are better than others, but I'm putting this above them all. This is my favorite Jeeves and Wooster book. So I thought I would include this. This is my bookshelf essential for today, The Code of the Woosters. I don't know that I've done a good job of explaining. I'm a book critic. I've been talking about books for 175,000 years, but I've never been able to capture Wodehouse in a way that makes sense. I mainly just have to shove the book at people. Anyone else, almost any other author, I can make the case. I can say this is why. But Wodehouse is magic. You're either going to get it or you're not. If you do, you've made a lifetime friend, a lifetime haven, because as Evelyn Waugh pointed out, this world never changes. Nothing ever impinges on it. It's never a question of so-and-so got married and is miserable. It's never a question of so-and-so got sick and is now wasting away. It's only a question of, I want that cow creamer. Can you pinch it for me? I want that weird African totem. Can you pinch it for me? Are you going to puncture the right hot water bottle or not? It's only a question of that. And it only ever is a question of that. It's only trifles. Silly people worried about silly things. And sometimes that's exactly what you need. So I'm going to wrap this up. I haven't done a good job of explaining Jeeves and Wooster, but I wanted it. I wanted to at least show you, you're not paying any attention anyway, but I wanted to show you another bookshelf essential. I'll move on to something else next time. So I'll wrap this up and try to remember to leave a link to David's video, at least one of them, so you know what I'm talking about. And I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.